All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna check out this article about Minnesota gears up for mass anti-immigration enforcement protest despite dangerous cold. And then we're gonna look at some other tangential topics as to whether or not all this stuff makes sense in a larger political context if possible. All right. So this article was written today and updated at 10:37. It's 11 right now. By Giovanna Del Orto. Okay, in Minneapolis. A vast network of labor unions, progressive organizations, and clergy has been urging Minnesotans to stay away from work, school, and stores Friday to protest against immigration enforcement in the state. Minneapolis and St. Paul have seen daily protests since Renee Good was fatally shot by an immigration and customs enforcement officer on January 7th. Federal law enforcement officers have surged the Twin Cities for weeks and have repeatedly squared off with community members and activists who track their movements. We really want ICE to leave Minnesota, and they're not going to leave Minnesota unless there's a ton of pressure on them, said Kate Haviland of Indivisible Twin Cities, one of more than 100 groups that is mobilizing. They shouldn't be roaming any streets in our country just the way they are now. Okay, 2 people were arrested for the church thing on Thursday. We know about that. Vice President J.D. Vance, meanwhile, visited Minneapolis to meet with ICE officials and address reporters. He encouraged protesters to remain peaceful and urged city and state officials to cooperate with federal forces to ease the fraught situation in Minneapolis. But they're not going to. They're not going to work with you. Organizers hope Friday's mobilization will be the largest coordinated protest action to date, with a march in downtown Minneapolis planned for Friday afternoon. The National Weather Service warned of dangerously cold weather, and early Friday the temperature in Minneapolis was -21 with a wind chill of -40, -29 Celsius. Haviland compared the presence of immigration enforcement to the winter weather warnings. Minnesotans understand that when we're in a snow emergency, we all have to respond, and it makes us do things differently, she said. And what's happening with ICE in our communities and our state means we can't respond as business as usual. More than 100 small businesses in the Twin Cities, largely coffee shops and restaurants, said they would close in solidarity or donate parts of their profits, organizers said. Somali businesses especially have lost sales during the enforcement surge as workers and customers, fearing detention, stay at home. Some businesses are choosing to close in solidarity with the protesters rather than the unscheduled interruption of having agents apprehend staff, said Luis Argueta of Unidos, Minnesota, a civil rights group that's named in Spanish. Many schools are planning to close Friday, but cited different reasons. The University of Minnesota and the St. Paul Public School District said there would be no in-person classes because of the extreme cold, right? Minneapolis public schools were scheduled to be closed for a teacher's record-keeping day. Clergy planned to join the march as well as hold prayer services and fasting, according to a delegation of representatives of faith traditions, including Buddhist, Jewish, Lutheran, and Muslim. I don't see Protestant or Catholic. Well, I guess Lutheran's Protestant. I don't see Catholic or Orthodox in there. Bishop Dwayne Royster, leader of the progressive organization Faith in Action, arrived in Minnesota on Wednesday from Washington, D.C. So this is not just an organic Minnesota protest. These people are coming in from Washington to organize this protest. This is beyond just an organic community protest. We want ICE out of Minnesota, but you're not even from Minnesota, bro. He said, we want them out of all the cities around the country where they're exercising extreme overwatch. So this is at least a national communist organized protest. Royster said at least 50 of his network's faith-based organizers were joining the protest. About 10 were traveling from Los Angeles, while others from the same group planned a solidarity rally in California, said one of the organizers there. It was a very harrowing experience, said the Reverend Jennifer Gutierrez. Wait, the female preacher? Yeah, okay. Of the large immigration enforcement operation in Los Angeles net last year. We believe God is on the side of the migrants. God is definitely on the side of the female preachers. I know that for a fact. That God definitely supports female preachers. Let's check out this organization first. Of course, it's a tax-free. Don't see a lot of white people there. We are the largest grassroots global faith-based organizing network. The nonpartisan organization works with 1,000 congregations in more than 200 cities and towns throughout its 46 local and state federations, as well as in Haiti, Central America, Africa, and Eastern Europe. So it's a global, quote-unquote, religious organization that has connection to over 1,000 churches in more than 200 cities, 46 local and state federations, as well as in Haiti. So they've got connections in Haiti, Central America, Africa, and Eastern Europe. All the places where the immigrants are coming from and coming into white countries. Interesting. And it's also that they work with all religions. It's not just Christianity, it's Judaism, Islam, Buddhism. So this is what they got going on. Not a lot of white people in this. Well, I guess white people aren't really immigrating into the United States. All right. So now we're going to get into some seriously illegal stuff that we're not supposed to talk about. But we got to talk about the Kalergi plan. Now, the whole concept of it being a conspiracy theory, I think that's pretty much done for. Anyone who doesn't believe in conspiracy theories at this point, you're pretty much a lost cause. If you don't think that groups of people organize in order to put forth their agendas into the political sphere, I don't know what you're even doing in politics at this point. Okay. So the conspiracy part about it is that he wasn't specifically writing it as a malicious text, but more it was a predictive text saying that this is a possible outcome of, creating a pan-European Union and probably United Nations and all that type of stuff. Not really going to read through this too much, but it was basically a book or plan that was written by an Austrian Japanese politician, Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi, creator of the Pan-European Union. And basically, where it's from is the conspiracy theory stems from a section of Kalergi's 1925 book, Praktischer Idealismus, Practical Idealism, in which he predicted that a mixed race of the future would arise. The man of the future would be of mixed race. Today's races and classes will gradually disappear owing to the vanishing of space, time, and prejudice. The Eurasian Negroid race of the future, similar in its appearance to the ancient Egyptians, will replace the diversity of peoples with a diversity of individuals. Okay, so then they're saying that modern far-right individuals seek to draw relationships between contemporary European and American policymaking and this quote. Okay, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion also, but we can look at this too. The Albert Pike and Mazzini letters. Now, these have been proven to be false because there are certain things that are mentioned in the letters that wouldn't have existed at the time when the letters were supposedly supposed to be created. But it doesn't really change the fact that in the future, somebody could have read these letters and then decided to go along with this plan, right? It's the same thing with the Kalergi plan. Maybe he was writing it in an idealistic fashion, thinking that this was one possible future, but it doesn't change the fact that other people might read this and see it as a positive outcome, right? So then when we get back to the Minnesota protest, right, and we see that it's all about diversity, and it's all about making sure that as many immigrants, legal or illegal, will be able to remain in the United States, and all the immigrants are coming from Africa, Mexico, Eastern Europe, South and Central America. They're not coming from Western Europe, right, or even Russia for that matter, right? And so whether or not when he wrote the book that it was malicious or not, the fact is that it is playing out, and some people don't like it. Typically white people don't like being replaced and mixed race and have immigrants outnumber them through mass migration. And I think it's kind of, I think it is wrong at this point. I mean, if people vote to deport the immigrants and then half the people decide that they don't want to deport the immigrants, like, the country is done. The country's done, right? Because now you got armed federal agents running around in people's neighborhoods, and the people don't want them there. And the people that are there, whether they like the concept or not, they want to replace white people with immigrants. Because it's like they're going off of like the old, like, Enlightenment theory that all you have to do is work hard and there's this unlimited pie, where there's just not an unlimited pie. There's not an unlimited pie. And so therefore, immigrating a lot of like diverse people from diverse countries is like either diluting the pie or, taking other people's slice of the pie, right? And so that in and of itself is kind of immoral. And then we can just see from here, this part specifically, where there's these religious leaders that are coming in from outside. They're coming in from Washington, D.C., they're coming in from Los Angeles, they're planning nationwide organizations. And it's like, if right-wing people try to do this type of stuff, we see what happened in January 6th. Now, January 6th For going inside the Capitol building, that was a huge mistake. But before that, it was completely fine. And it just seems like, I don't, it's like, it's not really my place to even say, well, maybe we shouldn't have immigrants or not. But it's just hard at this point to deny that you're not in line with this. Even if you've never read this, right? You might have never read the clergy plan. You might have never heard of the clergy plan at all, but you're doing it. And then the people that did read it, and they're looking at you and they're seeing that you're doing the plan, whether or not you heard of it or not, right? It doesn't matter if you heard of it, right? Like, it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter at this point if the Pike Mazzini letters are true or were actually written by Mazzini to Pike, because at this point people read it and then that's what they believe, and then that's what they're doing, right? So to me, you're just playing into the plan. If you're an anti-immigration enforcement protester, you're playing right into the clergy plan, and you can't deny it at this point. You can't deny that you're basically against white people. And I've been seeing these, oh my God, like the "you're a white male" guy, like in the church when he's white. It's like we're back like 2014. You're a white male. And it's like, bro, you're white. What's your problem? Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah. I don't know what to say about this. This is going to cause huge problems because people are already pissed off that they can't even get criminals, illegal aliens that also committed crimes, like violent crimes and gang style crimes in the United States, deported, let alone the people that just came here illegally. And like, I think, there should be like a time basis, because we've always had that kind of like, if you're here for a certain amount of time. But there should definitely be a priority. Nobody should be in the way of them getting rid of people that actually committed crimes in the United States and also illegally entered the United States, and then basically go from like the people that have been here the shortest amount of time to down to the people that have been here for the longest amount of time. That's the way I'm seeing it at this point, because this is ridiculous. Like, I get it when someone's been here for like 20 years and they have kids and all that stuff. But if you won't even let them deport the drug dealers and the rapists and the murderers, like, that's actually a problem. That's like an actual problem, not like a theoretical problem. Maybe it's a problem, maybe it's not. No. Like, if you're blocking them from deporting criminals, and then I know the left, well, they say they're all criminals. Well, they're police, so everyone that they're going after is going to be criminals, basically. Yeah. Okay. Not very conclusive video here, because I don't know. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens at these protests today, if they get violent, if they get out of hand or not. We'll see. So that's the video for now. Thanks for watching if you did. Have a good day and peace.